So, I recently wrote and passed the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam. And as usual, I made a post about it on LinkedIn. And I was surprised by how many people reached out to me asking about the exam. Some were asking what the exam was about, some were asking for tips and tricks on how to pass the exam. And one person actually asked if he can get a job with the AWS Cloud Practitioner certificates. Now, this video is not about whether or not you can get a job with that certificate. This video is actually going to be about how I passed the exam, how I prepared for the exam, what I focused on, and most importantly, actually, what I wish I knew before taking that exam, just so you get to know how to go about the exam, which areas to pay more attention to, and you know, go in, write, and pass with confidence. So for those who don't know what the exam is about, AWS Cloud Practitioner exam shows that you understand the core AWS concepts, right? Like cloud computing fundamentals, basic AWS services, security, pricing, and how AWS works in general at a high level. This is the official AWS page for this exam. As you can see, it doesn't really require a deep technical experience or coding skills. You just need to understand how AWS works, what services to use in different scenarios, and how AWS charges for them. Again, it's foundational, it's designed for beginners. You have 90 minutes to complete your exam. There are 65 questions, either multiple choice or multiple response. The cost $100. You can actually get a discount. I don't know if you can, but I got a discount. I paid $80 for the exam. I got a discount on the voucher. You can take this exam online, or you can use it, an exam testing center if you want. Right. So I'd highly recommend you reviewing this page, honestly, if you really want to get an overview of what the exam is about. Move on to the resources I used. Let's talk about the exam domains. This section is the most important part of this video because it shows what areas are tested and how much each area counts towards the exam. The exam is divided into 4 main domains. First domain is cloud concepts. This covers about 24% of the scored content. Now, this is about understanding the basics of cloud computing on AWS. It forms a significant portion of the exam. And the second domain is security and compliance. AWS takes security seriously, so you see questions on best practices, shared responsibility, and compliance framework. And the third domain is cloud technology and services. This covers core AWS services like compute, storage, and networking at a high level. You don't need deep technical knowledge, just a clear understanding of what each service does. And the fourth and final domain is billing, pricing, and support. You can see this is 12%, but please do not underestimate this because this domain was highly tested. And I think it's also highly tested. When I wrote the exam, it was highly tested. You need to understand AWS pricing models, cost optimization, and support plans available. You're going to see a lot of questions on billing, pricing, and support. So now that we've gone through the 4 main domains, let's talk about the resources I used. Matter of fact, let's talk about the 2 main resources I used, AWS Docs and Code Cloud. If you're not familiar with AWS Docs, they are the official documentation from AWS. So think of it as the ultimate guide for every service and concept on AWS. It is where you'll find detailed explanation on everything, examples, best practices, straight from AWS itself. I usually used them whenever I needed like a more in-depth understanding of the concept, like security or billing, something. I'll just go straight to AWS Docs if I don't understand what I'm seeing, or what I'm reading, what I'm doing, right? And then the second one is Code Cloud. On Code Cloud, this is the exact course I used to study for the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam. And as you can see, it covers all the exam domains from cloud security and concepts to pricing, billing, and AWS services. If you go through the course contents, you actually see everything. Now, what I really liked about this course is how structured it is, especially how everything is broken down step by step. So you're not just memorizing concepts, right? You're actually understanding how AWS works. So if you're someone who prefers learning in a clear, guided way, especially as a beginner, I'll definitely recommend this course. It really does a great job of laying that foundation. If you plan on writing this exam, there are a few more things you need in addition to the two resources I mentioned. And the first one is the AWS Management Console. I can't stress this enough, guys, but as soon as you learn about the service, go straight to the AWS console, find that service and play around with it. This to me is the best way to learn about any AWS service out there. Why? It's simple. The console makes it easier for you to understand what the service actually does, how it works, and it makes the concept much easier to remember. And in order to access the management console, you need an AWS account, and this is completely free to create. All you need to do is create an AWS account, and AWS gives you free tier credits that you can use to play around with these services at the end of the day. And the second tip, guys, is practice questions, practice exams. There are plenty of resources out there, guys. You need to practice this exam, especially if this is your first time writing any professional certificate whatsoever. You need to get familiar with the structure, the style, and the burdens, because it's going to actually get confusing for you if you're a beginner. Whether or not you're a beginner, I don't think it actually matters. You just need to practice the exam, right? Practice every day until your exam. If you have more time, practice more. Right? Get familiar with this structure, get familiar with the way the questions have been styled. Just get familiar with all of these things so you don't go in and get shocked with the question, something like that. That's it for today, guys. Follow these tips and use the resources I mentioned, and you'll be well prepared to pass the AWS Cloud Practitioner exam. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.